WV Uncommon Place. This podcast is a variety podcast that houses numerous series to cover mental health, empowerment, podcast framework, and various intimate theories to get to know the hosts, along with occasional movies reviews and dives in pop culture with our event podcast episode. The Uncommon Place digs into bringing guests on that stories don't fit the mold and are very different. WV stands for the great state of West Virginia, and every quarter we cover something in West Virginia. Stacey and myself, JR, are your hosts, so please come along for this venture to Uncommon Place.
Howdy, everybody. My name is J.R. Sparrow. I am the host of WV Uncommon Place, and today we got to talk about some things. One thing that I want to get into is a word that you hear a lot, the word disparity. You hear disparity, you hear different terms that follow along with that, and then we'll carry that back around and I cover a whole gamut of things. But this one thing that I do want to talk about, and this is from my community. In my community, I am African American. Um, and the audience, we all know I do not discriminate. I don't care about all that. But we're talking about healthcare. And healthcare for me has always been a deep topic with me. Turning 40 years old on the 13th of July, I have gone through these administrations when it comes to healthcare. My first dealing with paying for healthcare or handling healthcare started under the Bush administration. It carried through to the Obama administration. It went to Donald Trump administration. It went to Biden, and now it's back with Trump. And seeing the um the beginnings of Obamacare and different things that changed the patient-centered care and getting more statistical information out about our communities and trying to help more free clinics and different things like that, there has been a disconnect. And the disconnect that I've found in our community is the education, the promise. And when I say the promise, I'm talking about the actual idea of people taking into inception how to get structured healthcare, how to get help. And that is an issue that when someone, like the guest that I'm about to bring on, thinks about, he thought about it, he built an infrastructure, and he decided that, hey, I am going to solve a problem. And in doing so, when you help to solve a problem, you make a solution. But when you make a solution, the solution has to be more than just solution. It has to have resolve inside of it. It has to have a balance that will take care of the complete problem. And that is one of the hardest things that happens to a person when they develop or decide to take on a problem and they make the solution. So I am proud to have on the show with me right now Kwame Terra, and he is here to talk about his system, the BEHR system, B lowercase E.H.R. And he's here to talk about the focus specifically on our community and their health needs. And like always, I did a crazy monologue right there. Shout out Tavis Smiley. Um, but here's the thing. Kwame, I'd like you to introduce yourself, and I want to know, and this is the gut wrenching part of the story, why our community's healthcare needs made you want to find a solution to help them. Where did you find the first problem in your infancy, in your origin story, as people like to do in comics? So please tell us about yourself and tell us why the creation of this company happened.
Yeah, so again, my name is Kwame Terra. I'm the CEO and founder of Bear Health. Born in New Orleans, Louisiana, grew up in Houston, Texas. Came back to New Orleans for undergrad and graduate school, where I started off pre-med and then made my way to public health. And it was actually a text message that I received from my aunt during the COVID-19 pandemic that led to the founding or really the development of the idea of Bear Health. So she shot me a text, said, "Hey nephew, I'm just working in the clinic. She's a physician assistant. And, I'm seeing a lot of people come in with comorbidities, hypertension, type 2 diabetes, some cancers, and they're getting the worst of COVID-19, and the majority of them are Black. And I just feel like this would be a great time for you to kick off your healthy eating initiative again because, the problems are highlighted right now. We all see it, and we just can't let this happen again. Like it's just unacceptable and it's preventable, right? That was a big key component of the message is that it's preventable. And I had known these things and I've been applying these practices to my life for my own personal, goals and maximizing my own potential as a human being. And so I've been eating a plant-based diet now for 10 years and I exercise regularly. And again, most so focused on how this helps me. And when I received that text message from my aunt, I started thinking about what I could develop to help others, specifically in the Black community, because she did note that she said she wanted me to start something, but focus primarily on the Black community with it. And my first thought was that we don't know how bad we're doing as it relates to our health in the Black community. We know we're not doing our best. We know we need to be eating better. We know we need to be exercising more. But I don't think, well, I know that most of us aren't aware that if we don't get it together as it relates to our health, we can end up with a severe health issue in our 40s, 50s, early 40s, early 50s, early 30s, mid 30s even. Hypertension, type 2 diabetes, heart attacks. These things are starting to pop up as early as our 30s and 40s in the Black community, especially, and it's cutting our lives short. And my biggest fear really is young children losing their young parents to preventable conditions. To me, it's really unacceptable. We obviously face a lot in this country, but if there's something that I could do to empower someone to prevent that from happening in their life, then that's a problem that I'm going to be passionate about solving. So again, our first goal is to communicate clearly to the Black community our current health status. So instead of just saying, I don't think Black people know how healthy they are or not, I'm going to take it upon myself to communicate that to us. And I wanted to do it in a way that wasn't just another workshop or seminar or educational series. Not that those things aren't valuable, but I wanted to create something that, again, simplify the complexity of health and communicated it in a way that people could digest it, but then also lived with them. Like follow-up is such an important part of, achieving your health goals. And in a one-off seminar or a one-off meetup isn't enough to get someone to change their lifestyle and to change their habits over time. And so, yeah, I wanted to create a score that could help educate people, but I wanted that score to live with them. And so we have technology around it, an app around it where you get your score when you first come on the app, but then every day, every week, depending on how you change, so does your score. So if you go on a run one day, your score goes up a few points. If you get 3 hours of sleep one night, your score goes down. And then based on those changes, we make recommendations for how you can improve, as well as connect you with healthcare providers, resources, and experiences designed to elevate your health. Um, like you're talking about in the beginning, our current healthcare system, though equipped, just wasn't designed to solve this problem. In fact, it seems like it was designed to create disparities because that is the current state, right? The life expectancy, and this is outside of healthcare. This is just the country in general, because healthcare only accounts for about 10% of your health outcomes, right?
Yes.
And the majority of your health is determined by how you engage with the world, your lifestyle, your experience, your environment. And yeah, our system just wasn't designed to make Black people thrive. I don't think that there is a debate around that. I think everybody understands and accepts that. And there have been obviously specific examples that have caused these disparities, specifically as they relate to health. For example, after the Emancipation Proclamation, there were several medical schools developed and to train Black doctors. And shortly after, the United States or the American Medical Association, I forget what institution, essentially changed the standards for medical training. Right. So there were maybe 8 or 10 medical schools that were started to train Black doctors. And then they changed the standards and it eliminated like 80% of them. So in that instance right there, they took so much health from Black people because we know for a fact, backed by research, that when Black people are cared for by Black providers, the outcomes are better for a variety of fact, for a variety of reasons. You know, you feel more relatable to a Black provider. You are willing to be more honest with a Black provider about what you're dealing with than you are with maybe a white provider. And so that's just one example, and that was very early on, you know. And there have been several attacks obviously leveled at the Black community since then. But ultimately, what has been taken away and or never granted to the Black community is quality of life. And quality of life is what must be restored um, if we're ever to achieve health equity. Right now, there's a 6 to 7 year life expectancy gap between Black people and the rest of the population. Um, that is entirely or largely driven, the majority of it is driven by social determinants of health, quality of life metrics, right? Access to healthy foods, quality homes, quality environments, all of these factors that have been systemically disrupted. And yeah, we started Bear Health to recapture that life loss, that time loss. When you extrapolate it to the entire population, it's about 268 million years of time lost in the Black community. There's so much wealth and opportunity there that yeah, that's what you're driving me every day.
Right. And I can wholeheartedly understand that because I can show you right there, right now. Type 2 diabetic, and, nothing on anybody. I was a collegiate athlete. I mean, I wrestled, and different things like that. So even, being able to be a Division 1 athlete and all that other stuff, the healthcare wasn't provided in certain areas. And even in certain times in life, I had to go to free clinics to even, structure jobs and different things in insurance. And that's why I explained the structure of the 20 years from 20 to 40, how life kind of changed for me there. Now, you talked about your real-time health score that you give people. How does your algorithm work, and how do you feel it sets itself apart from traditional healthcare metrics, which you explained just a bit ago to a certain degree? But what do you think will make this a standard in the future? Because with promise and with the science of what you're building, um, a standard comes at some point, and the standard comes over time after it has been adapted in ways that make sense
Yep.
to people, and that's a common thing of a creator like you. You have to denominator. You have to get it as small as you can
Mhm.
to make it work. So enlighten me a little bit more about how your algorithm differs from traditional metrics.
Sure. So it's actually just not the same thing because it actually incorporates all of the traditional metrics into the score.
Okay.
The traditional metrics could be your blood pressure, your cholesterol, your glucose levels, right? Fasting, your triglyceride levels, your resting heart rate, how many steps you're taking, your height, your weight, your BMI, your sleep, your mental well-being. So it takes into consideration all of these factors and generates a score, essentially it's a risk engine.
Okay.
So the higher your score, the less likely you are to have a significant health event on any given day. The lower your score, the more likely you are to have a significant health event on any given day. It's not necessarily going to say you're going to die today if you have a score of 300 out of 1,000. It's just letting you know this is the trajectory that you're on based on your lifestyle, your family medical history, and your current health status. Fortunately, like your trajectory can be changed on any given day at any age with lifestyle modifications, and you'll start to see that on a daily basis on the app. Um, the health score that we use is actually also used by 30 of the largest insurers in the world. So,
Whoa.
so the
Okay.
validation is already it's
There.
still in its infancy in a sense, but it is being utilized. And ultimately, for the validation to truly take off is to where all of the data is automated, right? Every data point that is going into the app is automated in some way. Because right now, about half of the data is automated. So someone's resting heart rate, if they're wearing a continuous glucose monitor and that's sending data to Apple, then we can get that. Um, but things like blood pressure, you're gonna have to add that manually. Things like
Yes.
cholesterol level, you have to add that manually. And that's fine. It's still valuable and it's important that people are getting these things checked. But once that section of the app, like where you put that information in, is only controlled by your provider, let's say, so you have no influence over the data going into that, and all of your activity data is automatically logged by your smartwatch or wearable. And let's say you have a continuous glucose monitor, and your glucose levels are changing not because you're entering in the data, but it's just going off that real-time monitoring. Then the score becomes increasingly more useful and accurate because people can say whatever they want.
Right.
People are willing to lie to themselves about their health to feel better, and that's fine. And I encourage people to always be as honest as possible because sure, you get your individual score on the app that lives with you, but all of our user data goes into what we call the Black Electronic Health Records, and that's actually what Bear Health stands for. And we use that data. It's a real-time database of all of our user health insights that we use to inform and drive health solutions in Black communities. And so it's really important that these are the data that you put in is representative of where you are so that we can either go in there and find solutions to the problems that are showing up in your community, or if you're doing really well, we want to know what you're doing, how you're managing to thrive and live well and healthy Black in America so that we can go apply that to other communities. And so we call it the Health Score Report. It's this nationwide database again. We'll have the average health score in New Orleans compared to the average health score in West Virginia compared to the average health score in DC, and be able to identify trends and leverage that to ultimately curate this system that actually does serve people. Because instead of going into the current system and trying to fix it, which I think these are impossible problems, that you're working against something that again was designed with a lot of influence and infrastructure against the problem you're trying to solve. And so instead of trying to beat my head up against that wall for the next rest of my life, I decided I'd spend at least the next few decades building a comprehensive healthcare system for Black people, starting off with this app. And as we expand nationally and we have reach, nationwide, we'll use our insights to inform and drive health solutions, whether that ultimately is infrastructure, or just building community. And that's really what we've been learning recently is that community, at least to start, is what people need. And if you get around other people who are on these health journeys, then just naturally, just like anything else, if you get around people who are doing something, you start doing that. And we actually started, or we're starting our first center called Bear Connect, where it'll be like co-working by day, wellness by night, and people can come and become a part of our community. Your access to the space is our app. So long as you're on the app, you'll be able to get into the space and be a part of our experience. But yeah, really, when people ask me like, what do they need to do to be healthy? I'm like, well, you need to know where you are because you can't improve what you aren't measuring.
Right.
So download the app and get your health score, and then come join our community. And naturally, it'll just happen.
Okay.
No,
I like I like that. Now, I need you to do me this favor real quick. We do a little thing we call it, it's a nostalgic. We do a little shameless plug. Where can people meet and greet you across the internet? And Ben, I need you to do something amazing for us. Um, you have an app. I need you to walk us through a user experience, and obviously this is going to be an audio and the visual aspect of it. I'll help do a video going through it on my phone later on.
cool.
Um, to navigate it and show people my progress with it. So what I need you to do real quick here is give us a little quick plug where they can meet and greet you across the internet.
hmm Yeah, so you can find me on all social platforms at Kwame Terra, KWAME TERRA. Most active on Instagram. And then you can also find Bear Health on Instagram and everywhere else at Bear Health, BEHR Health.
Okay. Now, Bear Help, when you're looking for this app, walk me through the navigation steps.
Yeah, so currently we're still operating on our beta platform, which
Okay.
is called Dakadoo.
Okay.
To just go to the App Store or Google Play Store and type in DACADOO. It's going to, once you download it, it's going to ask you for an access code. You're going to type in access code JR Sparrow and all lowercase, all one word. And then you're going to get into the app. It's going to ask you for your height, your weight, your age, where you live, username and password. And then you're going to get into the app. After that, there's going to be a prompt to complete your initial health score assessment. So it's going to ask you about 14 questions about your overall health, two questions from each category that we track. So we track physical activity, we track physical or medical health, nutrition, mental well-being, sleep, mindfulness, and self-control or substance use or indulgence. So you get about two questions from each of those categories for the initial snapshot, but by no means is that to me a true representation of your overall health as you utilize the app more, as you add more data, and as your lifestyle changes, you'll start to see what your actual score is. And then I encourage people to join our community through a challenge. We do monthly trackers on the app where we see how many steps everybody takes every month, and it's kind of like a real-time leaderboard, so you see how you're doing, compared to the rest of the community. And we do a calorie burn chat tracker. We do a total distance tracker. We do a total workout duration. So some people are at the top of the duration, but not necessarily at the top of the total steps or what have you. Um, and so, yeah, make sure you connect the tracker. If you are on an iPhone, you'll be automatically prompted before you complete the health score assessment to connect your Apple Health. Turn on all so that your health score will automatically update in real time. And then if you're an Android, you go to the track tab, connect your preferred tracker. So there's Fitbit, Garmin, Samsung Health, Google Fit, pretty much anything that people are using, except for Whoop, which not many people even know about Whoop, right? I see the face that you made. Uh, Whoop is actually the most comprehensive health tracker.
It is? Whoa, I'm not laughing at that. I'm just like,
Yeah, in my opinion, I think, and I'm not a customer yet. I'm probably going to become a customer very soon of Whoop, but it's just a band. There's no face on it. It's just a band and it's capturing lots of data. One, I guess you could say shameless plug of them, because I'm actually going to be making a proposal to them soon. They actually designed their band to capture these insights under the most challenging conditions. And so one problem within the medical system is a lot of medical devices aren't designed to capture readings on Black people. They were designed on white people. So one of them is a pulse oximeter, which basically lets you know how much, oxygen is in your
been in the
blood.
bloodstream yet.
And when that device is capturing that in Black people, it's actually harder because of pigmentation. And so the readings aren't necessarily as accurate. But the Whoop band is designed again under the most challenging conditions to capture this data. And so it actually, again, and I'll have to talk to him before I like start making this claim, but my intuition is that it's the best, band that can capture that specific data point, which that data point also goes into our app as well.
Okay, okay. Now, my next question to you is this. Um, in supporting this, you have a great background and everything, but once people get in this app and they enjoy this, what is a way that they can help contribute in spreading the message? What would be, and this is a hard tagline, like what would be the call to action that you would tell someone after they've gotten involved and got immersed in this universe? And the reason I want to call it universe, I'm going to fly back to that in just a moment. Um, is this thing, and the reason I'm going to say universe is this one thing. When you get involved in something and you become part of it, everybody has taken the word universe and has considered that part of what they're doing. Creating a universe is you creating a perspective that people, and this is just my opinion, creating a perspective that people have not been able to challenge or have not been able to find a solution to, which you are finding a solution to. And I want to thank you for that real quick. But, but here's where the hard part comes in. People align with things, and people, once they get into it and they see a result, they want to automatically know the best way to support it. And
Hmm.
people don't always get that direct answer. And coming from the creator,
Yeah.
what would be the best way for people to support and push this forward and make this the initiative?
Hmm. I think to start, share your journey on social media, your health journey. So one user who last a couple weeks ago, we had the Essence Fest Steps Tracker during Essence Fest weekend here in New Orleans.
Yep.
And she, joined the tracker. There was a chance to win $250 just for joining. A couple hundred people joined over the weekend. And then the following week, she was walking around San Francisco on some sort of long hike, and she took a screenshot of her total steps from within the app that day, tagged Bear Health, and then shared her journey. That's one thing that you can do, right? So now other people are like, oh, I want to track my steps. I want to see how many steps I'm taking when I'm on a hike. Let me join Bear Health. So that's one thing. I think the most important question will that sparks the most curiosity in people is, do you know your health score? Right? Most people know their credit score, but do you know your health score? And people tend to want to, like, that's been the number one question that we've asked over the past 2.5 years as we're in different community events is like, do you know your health score? And like, no, not really. What would you like to know it?
Okay, so hashtag health score. Do you know your health score?
Yeah, I think that that's a strong one. And then if you're local, um, have people come to our events. So our run club meetups, our meditation meetups, our yoga meetups. In person is I think a good connecting point, obviously, for getting people involved in what we do. And if you know large organizations, wellness organizations, or just large communities that are doing really good work, but don't have any systemic way or systematic way to measure their impact, we can be a partner to them by allowing their community to come onto our platform, and then we share essentially in the data and we see the trends within their community specifically. Okay, well, everybody in the community is doing well in activity, but everybody seems to be struggling a bit in mental health. So let's be intentional about what kind of, events and experiences and resources we curate for this following month within your community. So essentially we empower communities with real-time comprehensive health data to help them just be more effective in what they do, and then also be able to leverage that data to raise money. And so those are the two things, like share it with your friends and your family, ask them if they know their health score, download the app to find out. And then if you know a large wellness organization that's doing really good work, we would like to showcase and improve the impact that they're making because they're saving the healthcare system millions of dollars. Lots of these communities that are doing this work essentially for free are saving the healthcare system millions of dollars per year.
Okay, okay, and I like that. And after our conversation, I'll have somebody to talk to you about because you just put something in my head there.
Yeah.
Now, Kwame, it's time for us to flip the table. You have given us a lot of statistical information and you've told us a lot about what's going on and what and how to get in touch with your healthcare app. But gotta turn it around and see how you're doing. Is that all right with you?
Yeah,
Are you
that's fine.
comfortable in that space? Because some people aren't comfortable about, even though you're the bearer and you're trying to help others, but are
Yeah.
you ready for us to learn a little bit more about you and to get a little deep and see how your well-oiled machine works? And
Yeah,
that's your
absolutely.
mind, body, soul, and structure. That's a lot. Are you
hmm
ready?
I'm ready.
All right. So in the morning, when you wake up, what is the first thing you consume?
Mhm. I just pay attention to my breath. I just
Okay.
do a little meditation. Yeah. The first thing when I wake up, obviously my brain is always like, okay, well, what can I do to grow my company?
Okay.
And so I just turn it off for about 10 minutes and just get rooted in the truth of the present moment because I don't really want to get to the point where my entire sense of self, entire sense of meaning is tied up in the company or really anything outside of the present moment because that's all that is real. And so I just remind myself of that every morning so that I can be at peace throughout the day and not hanging on every opportunity or every call that potentially leads to whatever happens to Bear Health, I'm going to give it my best to give it its best opportunity to become a super successful company and have a lot of impact. But if it were to stop tomorrow, I want to be okay.
Okay.
And so in the first thing in the morning, I get to where I'm at peace with the moment.
Okay. Now, what's your first physical consumption?
Water.
Okay. Water.
hmm
Something that's formless that can take on any type of structure. I appreciate that. I mean, you know the philosophical reason of water, so we definitely got that there, and we know about the physical portions of why we need water. So thank you for that. Now,
It's water and then it's sun.
right?
So,
Okay.
so capturing or getting some sun in your eyes or first thing in the morning, like when it's at low solar angle, so maybe first 30 or so minutes of sunrise, it's actually a really powerful tactic for improving your sleep, improving your mood, and just again resetting your circadian rhythm. Our bodies are so like we evolved under those conditions where like we were basically waking with the sun and going to sleep with the sun, or when it goes down. And obviously now we are so disconnected from that because of the conveniences of our lives and of our homes and all of that. And so if you are intentional about going outside and getting about 5 to 10 minutes of sun in your eyes, you can look directly at it when it's at low solar angle, but like, use your common sense and don't and don't go blind. But looking at or towards the sun in the morning for about 5 to 10 minutes is one of the most powerful things that you can do for your sleep. I swear, 2, 3 days after doing it, you're gonna wake up and you're gonna be like, how did I sleep that good? It's like magic, but
Okay.
it's nature.
Now, this is a hard question because you seem like your role is structured. Now, this next question is about pollution. We all put some form of pollution in our body, and this could be physical consumption, eating or drinking, or it could be visual, or it could be audio. Me
Hmm.
personally, myself, and I'll give myself and give you a moment before I ask the question. My pollution that I do, and I hate it. It's not. I'm not one of these people that grab my phone and get on TikTok or anything like that. After I've woken up and do whatever I do for my day in the first hour, my phone opens up to emails because emails are structured or what a part of my business, and it's something that I have to start my day with. There's no dopamine rush or anything that happens with that because I know I've got to take on the task for whatever that day is. But the pollution is that sometimes I get some emails about some things that could have occurred with my job while I was asleep that will affect my whole day and carry out onto the next day, which could be positive or negative. But the reason I call it pollution is because whatever I do with it, I can make it positive. But if I don't make it positive, I've turned it into pollution because I've taken the negativity and I've decided that, hey, this is something that's wasteful. So for you, what is the first pollution you put in your body before midday?
Mm, it's hard to say. I definitely go straight to my email when I
You get the problem too, right?
after the sun and the water, I go straight in the meditation, I go straight to the email. But I enjoy so my I see my email as an opportunity.
Okay.
You know, when I'm doing a lot of work to create opportunity, emails mean that someone's responding to my ask. And sometimes they're good responses, sometimes they're bad, but like usually, I mean not usually, but ultimately there is some form of opportunity in an email to me. Um, I've gotten to where I'm very, very focused on the activity as my dopamine hit. So I've detached myself from the outcome because you can't control the outcome.
Right.
You can have a lot of influence on the outcome, but still, even if you have 99% influence on the outcome, there's still that 1%. So I detach myself from the outcome. And what makes me happy every day is that I'm taking as much action as I can on things or doing as many activities as I can that I know increase the likelihood of me achieving the outcome. And so and I hang out right there. I don't, like, I do not think about the result at all.
Okay.
It's from my heart.
So you do something key, a key thing there. So one thing I got an insight I just found out, you have a way like I do to control this thing that you can control your anxiety.
Yeah,
And
pretty good.
see, I like that you stay poised like I do, and that's why I think sometimes I don't understand anxiety to a full degree because I kind of got some type of mental focus that takes care of that. So I thank you for that
Mm.
one. So audience,
I, I do want to add another potential pollution, which that we none of us can really escape, right? There's pollution in there's pollution in the water that we drink, even if it's clean water from Whole Foods. There's pollution in the food. There's pollution in the air, all of that. And what I do to address that, because again, that can be overwhelming to think about. It's like I'm trying to eat healthy, but it doesn't matter, right? So then people just, they appeal to futility and just eat whatever they want. But shouldn't do that. You should eat the healthier polluted foods, you know. But I fast. So every day I don't eat until, I don't know, depends on the day, late afternoon, 5 p.m. sometimes, because there's a process called autophagy that is activated when you're in a fasted state. So the majority of us are always in a fed state, meaning that we're using calories that we consume for energy, right? Because we're able to eat around the clock and we love to eat and it makes us feel good. And that honestly is like a stress reliever, for a lot of us. But when you're in the fed state, your body is working, doing work, right? It's not, doesn't have time to focus on rest and repair. But when you're in a fasted state, it is able to focus on rest and repair. And when we're exposed to all of these toxins in our environment, so in the water, food, air, our cells start to make mistakes or our systems start to get out of balance. And that's really what I see disease as. It's just an imbalance. You have too much of something in a system that you don't need, or not enough of something that you do need. And when you remove what you don't need and add what you need, then all of a sudden you're healthy again. That's what I view most diseases: hypertension, type 2 diabetes, many cancers. Um, but what our bodies do, and it's so cool when we are, done using all of the calories that we consume for energy and we enter the fasted state, our bodies still need energy, right, to function. And so it starts to find energy that is stored and use itself to create energy. And it what it does is it goes and breaks down old, damaged, dysfunctional cells and proteins first, and you converts those into new, younger cells and essentially, to perform all functions that the body has. And so you start to clean yourself up. So my body cleans itself up every day. And sometimes I do extended fast, 3 to 5 to 7 days where you get a full reset. And when I did my first fast, it was such a cool moment where I was like, well, this is the first time maybe in my life that I've gone without food for 24 hours. I mean, what a blessing is that? That we live in a country where the majority of us have never gone more than 24 hours without food. That wasn't by choice. I mean, that's so incredible. However, it's not necessarily good for us. We we should go a little hungry on a regular basis. And obviously, as a country, we're overeating. We used to eat on average about 2,200 calories a day, the average American, but
Whoa.
like 1950s. Now we average about 3,500 calories per day. And we're not moving more. We're actually moving a lot less than we used to. So the outcomes are it's so obvious of why they are where they are. We're not moving as much and we're eating more. And yeah, one of my biggest recommendations to people is to skip a meal. Either skip breakfast or skip dinner, and you'll get a bit healthier. You'll feel hungry for the first week or so because there's a hormone called ghrelin that is released based on your eating schedule, based on the schedule that you're accustomed to eating. So if you're accustomed to eating at 9 a.m., your body's going to release ghrelin basically to make you hungry so that will eat. But it's not because your body necessarily needs more calories. It's just so that you will eat at that time. But after about a week, it'll be like, oh, we're not eating at that time anymore. Got it. Won't release ghrelin.
Oh, whoa. So that's deep.
Hmm.
And that's an interesting thing to know because yeah, like you said, certain periods and certain times it's like, yeah, I'm ready to eat. Blah, blah, blah. Yeah, this time, that time. Now, you satisfied the pollution that comes out there, and you even said from water, and I was thinking about that too, yeah, because we don't like in West Virginia, we do well water and we have city water if we're going to use it, but our well water, the minerals that are the rocks and everything, our water essentially does do different things in my opinion. I don't know if it's just in my head or not, but not the slurry or nothing, but the actual coming out of the mountain,
Hmm.
it to me it's different in a sense, and it gives me a different type of focus also because I notice like when I leave here and start hitting south generally with my work, even bottled water in different places, it feels like it's different. Maybe that's
Yeah.
something
Who knows what they're putting in the bottled water, man?
right, right. So we never know about that. Now, when you get to the middle of your day, middle of the day for any type of professional, and you're a professional, no paraprofessionals to your life at all, and that's a comment. I mean, that's a compliment there. Um, is this some people have a structure and checks and balances that set them up to where they don't need a pick me up. And when I say pick me up, we're not talking about any type of addiction or anything like that. But some people have certain type of affirmations or different things that they have to coerce themselves to get through the rest of their day. And the reason that I say it that way is because some people have mantras like you start your morning great and it lasts until a certain time in the evening. Or some people just have a high octane gas, as I like to say, that just goes all the way until the time of bed. It's a resting period for them. So for yourself, do you have to have a midday shakeup or something that keeps you motivated? Or are you structurally sound that you can go from point A to point B, but when it gets time for the nighttime, your decompression time is once you make yourself unavailable to the world and it's just Kwame time.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely the latter. And I think a great part of it is my fasting.
Oh,
So part of why we crash in the middle of the day is because at some point before then, we had a big sugar spike from our breakfast or our lunch, and then now we're crashing. So it goes up and then it goes down just as fast, and that makes us feel, lethargic and it's harder to focus. And you do need glucose throughout the day to like stay energized. And so one cool thing that also happens when you fast, as your glucose starts to get lower, your liver will start releasing glucose into the bloodstream to maintain energy levels. And so I'm able to stay focused throughout the day. I have to stop myself from working every day. And I do that because sleep is really important.
Okay.
But I could keep going.
Oh,
I
well.
I stopped go so I worked from about 8 to 8 p.m. 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. Sometimes 9 p.m. I say sometimes 9 p.m., sometimes 10 p.m. because I have to because I could keep going. And I think there are a variety of factors that are contributing to that. I'm very passionate about this work. I'm constantly getting positive feedback from my efforts, right? So I'm imbued with meaning because I know that when I take this action, I get or potentially get this result. Um, I have very few distractions in my life, and I think this is one of like the secrets of focus. There are only about three things that matter to me right now in life. Um, it's my health, my business, and my family on special occasions.
I
And
like
like again, if you're giving birth to something like a startup business that you want to be a global brand, like you're gonna have to make some sacrifices. If that's how big you want it to be. I'm not saying it's a requirement if you just want to have a business that makes 50 grand a year and you're able to sustain yourself off of what you're passionate about, like that and do like I encourage people to do that too. Um, but I'll be at the bachelor parties. I'll be at Thanksgiving, I'll be at the holidays. But outside of that, it's relatively minimal because relationships are emotionally draining and distracting. Not that they aren't absolutely valuable and core to a whole life as a human being. It's just that we care about them deeply. We care about how the people around us feel about us. And one bad conversation could take you out for a day or a couple of days, and it's just always on your mind. And so just try to avoid putting myself in situations where I have things that can essentially take me off my base. And so my family is aware, like I told them, like, hey, I'm going to lock in for 2 years. Like, again, I'll see y'all at Thanksgiving and everything. And my mom probably hates it the most, and I call her more often than I than I call my other family members. And we're close, and I have six brothers or five brothers and one sister, so pretty big family.
whoa.
So we're close, but we're not like we don't necessarily call each other every day, and so it's not that hard to kind of stay focused. And then um, my business is a really simple business. I tell people about my vision, and then some people engage with it, and then I continue to follow up. And then my health. And so that again, my health is my number one priority, and I obviously have to be healthy if I'm going to be leading this
Right.
this
By
health movement.
example, basically by example or no example, right?
Exactly. And
Right.
so yeah, I have a relatively simple life, which allows me to stay focused throughout the day. And now I also only eat 1 or 1.5 meals per day. So again, just limiting the number of things that I have to think about that obviously thinking about and going back and forth on decisions uses a lot of energy. And so, yeah, just try to minimize those things. But I would say, yeah, it's a combination of my diet or my eating schedule, limited distractions, and I'm getting so much meaning out of my work that I'm not looking for something else to kind of fill that hole. Like I'm not looking for a TV show. I'm not looking for um, a meal to
Right.
fill that. Now, I know I'm in a fortunate position with that. Like a lot of people don't enjoy their work and they're just doing it for the check and so yeah, I would probably need a pick me up too midday. I'd probably be, getting a lot of my meaning out of my meals every day too, or I'll try to be watching a show while I'm at work. But um, if you can if you can manage to again, but at the same time, this is also a risk. Like I decided to stop working and go all in on this, and I work more than everybody that I know.
Okay. But the thing that I like about what you're doing, and you said something amazing, and I hope every listener or viewer takes this one thing is this. You made sure when you got started on what you were doing, there were no voids. You didn't have to have a void in your life at all because this is your primary focus. So, in tying up this show, and I thank you for coming on here, I need you to leave us with your mission statement. And then after your mission statement, leave us with the future goal, not the end result, because remember you said earlier that outcomes, results, we can't manage those because those come with interaction reaction that come from what you're doing. So take us away, Kwame. And when you do this, please like make this the strongest mission statement you've ever given.
Gotcha.
Okay.
Yeah, so the I appreciate you asking that question. So public health is the art and science of prolonging life. That is the ultimate goal of the public health institution is how do we prolong human life? And early on in my journey, I started recognizing something that I think was missing from that definition. And it's sort of a mental health component. Um, at the root of longevity is the desire to live. Doctors will tell you that patients who are suffering from the same medical issue, who need significant intervention, um, those who want to live are more likely to live than those who don't with the same conditions. And I thought that was interesting because we can prolong life for a long time now with a lot of our medical interventions. We can keep sick people alive, but the definition is incomplete because I think it should read, how do we, or we should be prolonging the desire to live. How do we set up society such that, how do we create environments such that people want to be here as long as they possibly can, not to miss out on the experience of life? That's my ultimate vision just as a person, whatever vehicle I use to create that. Because once we have that desire to live and it's at the core of everyone, then we can leverage self-preservation as a motivator for health and for all things that we want people to do. Because people aren't going to care about, all of this stuff I'm talking about with health until they feel like their life has meaning and they have a community to do it with and they want to be here. It's not obvious to me that everyone wants to be here. And most of us are, sticking around and most of us are going to go to the point where we, take our own life. But we're just kind of hanging out and trying to enjoy as much pleasure as we can along the way as we suffer in the work that we do if we don't enjoy it or what have you. And that's unfortunate. And that's one of the hardest problems that to solve in this work is that, people are like, oh, well, I don't want to live until I'm 80 years old. Why not? But that's not their fault to me. That's the system's fault for not creating an experience that people don't want to leave or wouldn't mind leaving. How do we set it up that way? And so yeah, that's really my life's mission is to prolong the desire to live. And through the work that I do and really the way that I live my life, I've actually started to inspire others. And I wasn't thinking about inspiring others when I started this, or even when I did the 2 million steps in 30 days. But when I would be walking around, a couple of the people, I guess, who had been following my journey would see me walking. Like, I'm just walking throughout the city and someone walks up to me. He's like, hey, are you the walking guy? And I'm like, well, yeah, I guess so. And they're like, you are me and my friend's inspiration. And inspiration is such a important word because it really makes, again, it's an indication that people feel like life is a bit more worth living.
Yes.
Right. And again, that was just my personal journey of, completing 2 million steps in a month. But it gave people life and it gave me more meaning myself. And so that's really how do we curate mo that moment? How do we scale that moment in humanity? And then also figure out how to get us to stop fighting each other. Like that's kind of like we got to figure that out. That's a whole nother story. But yeah, how do we allow that to scale and take hold in the minds of the majority of people? Because right now we're cynical and pessimistic, and I get it. I've been there, and I've chosen positivity and creating, the future that we don't want to kind of get out of, or that we all want to be a part of. Because it gives us our best chance at achieving that future, right? Being pessimistic just doesn't help anything. I mean, maybe it makes you like feel better about yourself and you can use it as an excuse, but we don't really have anything to lose, so why not shoot for the stars with our world and our experience? So Yeah, that's what I got.
Okay, and I thank you so much for that. So, I'm JR, and this is Kwame. And the great thing about it, any type of podcast is we have an after podcast, and that's the show notes. In the show notes, we will have there ways to connect, ways to improve your health, and to get into this world of an idea of optimizing yourself. Optimizing is a thing that we don't do as a people. We don't, like he said earlier, we only look for a way to pacify certain things and we look for the quickest convenience. And looking for the quickest convenience is something that takes away from us as a whole. And a quick convenience gives you something that's bad at the end of the day. The consequence you get is something that you're going to have to fix later. The quick convenience makes a problem, and people don't realize that in the assets of what they could be doing prior. So joining this app, this Bear app, I'm definitely getting involved in the instructions were inside this episode, and I will do a navigational video for you all. I will do it on my iPhone. I'll record it there, and I will record it on my iPad also. I'm sorry, I'm an Apple guy, just so that you all can see the structure and how to set this up, and we will have it across a few social medias. This podcast will be out a little bit later, but I will definitely do a social media post that we can pull this little clip from, and we can use it there. So I want to thank you for coming on the show, and now I'm going to let our outro carry us out. But I want to leave you all with this one thing, this thought, this food for thought. Kwame did one thing that no person would think to do. He became selfless. And the day that he became selfless, that changed his outlook on life. Not saying he's always been selfless, but one day something triggered, which he told you at the very beginning of this episode, and his selflessness has taken away selfishness from his life. And in doing so, he's been able to become a productive person and to be a person that's beyond the normal common words of being well-rounded. He has become an evolution. And becoming an evolution and having this happen in your life at such an early age is a great thing for him because without that, we wouldn't have Bear. So that's my thank you to you, Bear, for that. And outside of that, get immersed with him and get involved. So on that note, I am JR and he's Kwame, and we are signing off.